All right, let's get right into it. What can ChatGPT really do, and what can it? By the end of this, you're going to have a super clear guide for using AI effectively in 2025 without all the hype. You've probably heard both sides of this story, right? On one hand, you hear that ChatGPT is this superhuman brain that's going to solve all the world's problems. And on the other, you hear it's just a glorified autocomplete that can't even get basic math right. The truth, of course, is somewhere in the middle. So what's the deal? How can you actually use this thing without getting totally frustrated? Well, the secret is having a really solid mental model, knowing exactly where its superpowers end and, where its very real limitations begin. And that's exactly what we're going to break down. All right, let's kick things off with the good stuff, the superpowers. What can this thing do that's genuinely amazing? Okay, first up, summarizing. And I mean, it is absolutely world-class at this. You can throw a huge, 50-page document at it and say, give me the 5 most important points, and bam, it does it in seconds. Then there's translation, and it's surprisingly good at this. Not just word for word, but it actually gets the tone right, the nuance, which is something even those fancy translation tools have always struggled with. And you know what? It's an amazing creative partner. Seriously, need, 50 names for your new coffee shop or a dozen different angles for a marketing campaign. It'll just spit them out almost instantly. And hey, for all you coders out there, this can be a total lifesaver. It is fantastic for helping you hunt down that one super frustrating bug, the one you've been staring at for hours. So if you kind of step back and look at all this, you start to see a pattern, right? If your task is basically about processing, organizing, or just reformatting information that's already out there, ChatGPT is pretty much unbeatable. It's a master of structure and making things clear. And that brings us to this idea, which is just a brilliant way to think about it. It's a creative sparring partner. It's not there to do the work for you. It's there to bounce ideas off of, to go back and forth with, until you finally land on something great. Okay, but that is only half the story. We've got to talk about the other side of the coin now, the hard limits, the places where you are absolutely going to hit a wall. This right here might be the single most important thing to understand: hallucinations. See, ChatGPT doesn't know anything. It's a prediction engine. It's just predicting the next most likely word in a sentence. And what that means is it can state something with total confidence that is 100% false just because it sounds right. And this applies to logic, too. It really struggles with complex multi-step problems. So you can give it a riddle with, say, 5 steps. It might get the first 3 or 4 right, because they follow a familiar pattern, but then it just trips at the finish line, because it's not actually thinking through the problem. It's just following a pattern it's seen before. So here's the bottom line. It's faking it. It simulates knowledge, but it doesn't have real understanding. It has no idea about consequences, like that bad legal advice could actually cost you a ton of money. It doesn't have your life experience or that human emotional touch. And unless it's using a special feature, it's completely cut off from what's happening in the world right now. And this is the real danger. It sounds so confident, so authoritative. It's so easy to mistake that confidence for accuracy. You have to burn this into your brain. Confidence does not equal correctness, ever. Okay, so how is this all changing in 2025? Well, the tool is definitely getting smarter, but the #1 rule for using it safely, that stays exactly the same. We're starting to see some of these limitations get addressed. I mean, features like deep research let it browse the live internet now, which really helps with accuracy. And there are these new thinking models that will actually pause and kind of reason through a tough problem before spitting out an answer. But, and this is a big but, even with all these amazing updates, the core principle is still the same. This quote just nails it. Think of ChatGPT as a brilliant, tireless researcher who also happens to be prone to lying and is just terrible at math. So you get to use this incredible power, but you have to accept its flaws. And that makes your job absolutely essential. And what is that job? You are the editor-in-chief. You're the boss. You guide the process. You use it for the heavy lifting, the drafting, the brainstorming, but you never, ever let it have the final word on anything important. All right, let's tie this all together. Let's create a really clear, simple framework for how to use this thing as a true thinking partner.
And here it is. It's this simple. Use it as a thinking partner, a clarifier, a brainstorming assistant. Do not, I repeat, do not use it as a decision maker, a source of absolute truth, or as a replacement for your own human judgment. That's the danger zone.
So, after all that, what's the one thing you absolutely have to remember? If you take away just one single idea from all of this, what should it be? Here it is. Use it to think better, not to think less. That is everything. When you're the one in charge, when you guide it, question its answers, and apply your own critical thinking, it becomes one of the most powerful tools ever invented. But the moment you rely on it blindly, it becomes misleading, even dangerous. So yeah, use it to make your own thinking sharper, not to outsource it.